Hello again today, friends. So we're gonna start our new book, Junie B. First Grader, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells. P.S. So does May. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna read 2 chapters today of this book. So the first chapter is called Peace and Goodwill. Tuesday, dear first grade journal. Yay, yay, hooray! Today's the last week before winter break. Winter break is the school word for I gotta get out of this place, I tell you, because Blabbermouth May is driving me crazy. She is tattling on me every day almost. That's how come yesterday I chased her down on the playground and I threw grass on her head. It was very fun, except I hope Santa did not see me do that. That guy watches me like a hawk this time of year. From Junie B. First Grader. P.S. Hey, wait! I almost forgot. Today, all the first graders are going to sing holiday songs together. That will be a hoot, I tell you, because just then I quick stopped writing because I couldn't believe my eyeballs. That Snoopy head May was stretching her neck across the aisle, and she was reading my journal. I slammed my book shut speedy fast. This is none of your beeswax, sister, I said, but May was already jumping out of her chair. Mr. Scary, Mr. Scary, she hollered real loud. Junie Jones wrote a bad name in her journal. She wrote that I am a blabbermouth, and a bladder is not a nice word. I rolled my eyes at that dumb comment. It's not bladdermouth, it's blabbermouth, May. I said blabbermouth. Blabbermouth is spelled with B's, not D's. Mr. Scary stood up at his desk. Girls, please, he said. Then he was going to growl at us probably, but the phone rang from the office. He had to answer it. I crossed my arms at May. B is the same letter that you always forget when you say my name, remember? And so maybe I should use B in a sentence for you. I leaned closer to her eardrum. Dear Blabbermouth May, my name is Junie B. Jones. How come you can't remember B's, huh, May? Huh? Are you a blockhead or something? Meg's face got puffier. Then all of a sudden, she grabbed my journal right off my desk and she started to rip out the page. I tried to grab it back from her, but May would not let go of that thing. So me and her got into a tuggle. I pulled real hard. Then May pulled harder. Then, oof! I pulled and pulled with all my might, and me and my journal went flying back into my seat. I hugged my book all safe and sound, but something did not feel right. I looked down. During the tuggle, May's sweater sleeve accidentally got hooked on my thumb, and so, oh no, her sleeve got stretched across the aisle with me. I quick untangled it from my thumb, but the sleeve did not bounce back. Instead, it just stayed on my lap, real longish and droopish. I did a gulp at that thing. Then, very slow, I looked over at May, and kaboom! Her whole stack blew off. She exploded out of her seat, and she hollered at the top of her lungs, Mr. Scary! Mr. Scary! Junie Jones wrecked my sweater sleeve! Junie Jones wrecked my sweater sleeve! Mr. Scary hung up the phone. I quick wadded up May's sleeve, and I tried to give it back to her, but she would not even take it. And so the sweater sleeve unrolled itself on the floor. May's eyeballs popped out of her head. Ah! It's all the way to the floor, she yelled. It's ruined! It's ruined! She ruined my sweater! I tapped my fingers, very thinking. Well, the whole sweater isn't ruined. Actually, it's just one sleeve, May, I said kind of quiet. If you grow one arm to the ground, it will fit like a glove, probably. May opened her mouth to holler again, but Mr. Scary was already hurrying down our aisle. He did not say a word to us. Instead, he took May and me by our hands, and he rushed us into the hall. May's sweater sleeve dragged on the floor behind her. She picked it up real limp. Look at this. Just look at it, Mr. Scary, she groused. Junie Jones wrecked my sweater. Junie Jones wrecks everything. I did a mad breath. I did not wreck everything, I said. And anyways, this wasn't even my fault. You're the one who started it, May. You're the one who stole my journal. Mr. Scary looked down at me. Stole, he said. The word is stole, Junie B, not stoled. I sucked in my cheeks, because now was not the time for grammar. Fine, she stole my journal, I said. She just grabbed it right off my desk, and she tried to rip out a page. May kept on arguing. But only I took her journal because she wrote a bad name about me, she said. I stamped my foot. But May wouldn't even know about the name if she didn't snoop, I said. Snooping in someone else's journal is an invasion of their privacy. Privacy. Mr. Scary did a little frown. Privacy, he said. It's an invasion of your privacy, Junie B., not piracy. I threw my head back. For the love of Pete, can't you just let it go? I'm trying to make a point here, I said. Mr. Scary glared his eyes at me. He said we needed to calm myself down, young lady. I jumped all the way in the air. I am calm, I hollered back. After that, I got marched speedy quick to the water fountain, and I had to take a few sips of water and settle myself down. I drank and settled. Then I wiped off my mouth, and I rocked back and forth on my feet, kind of nervous. Sorry, I said real quiet. Sorry I got mad, Mr. Scary. I looked up at him. Sometimes grammar makes my head explode, I said. Mr. Scary smiled a little bit, and then he took me back to May, and he talked to us in a calm voice. I really don't understand your behavior lately, girls, he said. The holidays are a time when we try to spread peace and goodwill, but you two are treating each other worse and worse every day. Me and May quick pointed at each other. It's her fault, we shouted together. Mr. Scary shook his head. I don't care whose fault it is, he said. If you two have another fight today, there will be no holiday sing-along for either one of you. Instead, you'll be parking yourselves in the principal's office for the afternoon. My body did a shiver at those words. 'Cause I've parked at the principal's before, that's why, and there's not a lot of singing that goes on down there. So what's it going to be, girls? Said my teacher. Do you want to shake hands and make up, or do you want to spend the afternoon in the office? My eyes glanced over at May. She was standing still as a statue, and her eyes were staring at the floor. I waited and waited for her to shake hands with me, but she did not look up. Finally, Mr. Scary tapped his annoyed foot at us. Well, he said again. I waited some more, but May still did not budge herself. That's how come I did a big, loud breath, and I picked up May's long sweater sleeve, and I gave it a shake. There, fine, I shaked with her, I said. Shook, said Mr. Scary. Whatever, I said. Then I dropped the sleeve back on the floor, and I kicked it over to May with my foot. She did a gasp. Then she quick picked it up and swatted the dirt off on my pants. Hey, quit it, I yelled. Mr. Scary snapped his loud fingers at us. May stopped swatting. I was just getting the dust out, she said. Mr. Scary filled his cheeks with air, and then he let it out real slow. Then he took us by our hand again, and we walked back into room 1. Peace and goodwill do not come easy. All right, so we're going to get to read another chapter of this book today, too. And it is chapter 2, and it is called Jingle Hats. The rest of the morning, we did arithmetic. Arithmetic is the school word for adding and taking away. Only I couldn't even concentrate on my numbers that good, on account of May kept giving me mean looks and flopping her sweater sleeve around. Pretty soon, there was a knock on the door. Come in, please, said room 1. Mr. Scary taught us to say that. Only I don't actually know why, 'cause people come in anyway. The door opened very slow, and it was Mr. Toot, the music teacher. He was carrying a big brown box in his arms. It was dusty, I think, 'cause when Mr. Toot plopped the box on the floor, Sheldon started to sneeze his head off. Sheldon is very allergic to dust particles. Also, he's allergic to hoagies and dairy products and nature. Achoo! 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 Mr. Scary looked at him real panicked. Then he quick picked up the tissue box and he ran over to Sheldon's desk. But Sheldon was already wiping his nose on his shirt sleeve. Ha! I beat you again, Mr. Scary, he said. I beat you at the race every time I sneeze. Mr. Scary closed his eyes. I have told you, Sheldon, before. We are not racing, he said. Sheldon laughed, and then he threw his fist in the air and he shouted, Sheldon Potts rules! Mr. Scary rolled his eyes, and then he moved the dusty box further away from Sheldon's desk. And Mr. Toot lifted the lid. I stood up to look, and wowie wow wow! Guess what was in there? Elf clothes, that's what! There were little green elf hats with jingle bells on their ends. Plus also, there were cute elf vests and with belts. Mr. Toot held them up for us to see. Boys and girls, our PTO made these costumes several years ago for our holiday sing-alongs. He said, "Aren't they great? Every single first grader is going to get to wear one today." He started passing them out. My Richie friend Lucille got hers first. She looked at it and made a face. "Okay, number 1, I don't wear this shade of green, and number 2, I don't wear bells with hats," she said. Mr. Scary looked up at the ceiling, and then he took Lucille by the hand, and he walked her into the hall, and she came back wearing her bell hat. Pretty soon, all the rest of room 1 was wearing our bell hats too. We shook our heads. The bells jangled very jingly. "Hey, this room sounds like a jingle bell sleigh," I said. Mr. Toot did a chuckle. "You're right, Junie B. Every year, one lucky class gets to wear the jingle bell hats. And this year, because room 1 has been so well behaved in music class, I chose you." All the children clapped and cheered, except for not Lucille. Instead, she threw her hands in the air and shouted, "What are the odds?" After that, she flopped her head on her desk, and she didn't come up again. Mr. Toot ignored her. "And that's not all my good news either," he said, "because each year the class with the bell hats goes on stage, and they lead the whole auditorium in singing jingle bells." Room 1 jumped up and down from their seats. Jingle bells, yay, yay, yay! We're going to lead jingle bells." Mr. Toot smiled. "Okay, everyone, just to make sure that you know the words, we are going to have a short rehearsal," he said. "Rehearsal!" we shouted. "Yay, yay, rehearsal!" Only too bad for us, because rehearsal was nothing to shout about. We sang that dumb song a jillion times, I bet. At first, it was kind of fun. Only then it got real boring, and that's how come I started singing funny different words. They were funny about Batman and Robin. I sang them loud so my friends could hear. "Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. Batmobile lost its wheel and Joker got away." Herbert and Lenny laughed and laughed. May did a gasp. Then she sprang up like a spring and she started to tattle. "Mr. Toot, Mr. Toot, Junie Jones is singing the wrong." I quick yanked her skirt. "Psst, May, are you crazy?" I whispered. "You and I can't fight anymore. Remember that? If you tattletale on me, we'll be parking ourselves with our principal." May covered her mouth with her hands, and then she sat down real fast. "Oops, never mind," she said to Mr. Toot. I wiped my worried forehead. "Phew, that was a close one." I said, "I saved our gooses." May leaned across the aisle. "You did not save our gooses, Junie Jones," she said. "I saved our gooses. I'm the one who didn't tattle." She pointed her finger at me. But you better not sing those bad words at the sing-along," she said. "I mean it, Junie Jones. You sing those bad words on stage and I will tell on you no matter what." I did a big breath. "Robin laid an egg is not a bad word, May," I said. "An egg is nothing for a bird to be ashamed of." "I don't care. It doesn't matter," she said. "You already ruined enough today, Junie Jones. You ruined my sweater and you ruined my mood. But you're not going to ruin the sing-along, too." She crossed her arms at me. "Even if I get in trouble myself, I will still tell on you," she said. "You can count on that, Junie Jones." After that, she leaned back in her chair and she brushed her hands together real smugly. I looked and looked at that girl. May is all for rocker, I believe. So tomorrow we'll get to read chapter 3, and it's called Laughing All the Way. So I hope that you tune in to watch these videos so that you can hear the rest of the Junie B. Jones series read to you. So I will see you back here again tomorrow. Bye, friends.